Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my video. All right, so in this video we are going to be talking about how to troubleshoot BMWs with a slow crank issue, meaning that it'll crank up. Only problem is that you notice that the starter it's very slow to crank, like it's weak. All right, this could occur over time, where it starts normally, it cranks normally, there's a strong crank when you crank it, but then over time, for whatever reason, you're trying to crank it, and every time you try to crank it, it's very slow. It's a slow crank. It seems like you have a low battery, or the starter has issues trying to start the car, but it does start. All right, so basically, when these situations come up, people directly think that it's the starter that's the issue, but the only problem is to troubleshoot it, the starter itself, outside of the car system, or to even get to the starter to replace it. If you guys ever had to replace it yourself, or hired somebody to replace it, you guys know that it's a very expensive job. It's a very difficult, relatively speaking. It's more difficult than the normal starter job by a lot. All right, most of the time for BMWs, the starter is under the air intake manifold. Just to get that air intake manifold out, there's a bunch of stuff you got to remove. It's very labor intensive and skill intensive. All right, so you can't actually just put a probe in there, a couple wires, just to test out the starter, just to see whether it's the system or anything else causing it, or it's the starter itself. So if you guys are stuck in that situation, here's what you guys do to troubleshoot. All right, obviously you can't get to the starter, so what you guys can do is check out the battery. All right, test out the battery under load. Make sure that there's no issues with the battery at all. There is an eye in the battery. You can see, make sure it's green. If it's green, it should be good. Taking the battery out, it's not the easiest thing. I mean, BMW doesn't make a lot of things easy as far as troubleshooting, and even something like taking the battery out, it's very difficult. You might even need two people to do it, but it's still a lot. It's simpler than testing out the starter. But you want to take the battery out, test it on a load. Make sure that the battery is 100% good. All right, if the battery is 100% good, okay, most of the time, if it's not the battery, here's what you're gonna do. All right, you're gonna take a cable, one portion of a cable, end to end. You're gonna put one end on the engine, the ground on the engine, the metal part of the engine itself, and you're gonna put the other end on the frame of the car. All right, so basically, on any car, BMWs, any car at all, there are a ton of grounds. All right, the battery itself grounds to the frame of the car, but there are also grounds from the engine to the frame of the car. All right, and this kind of has to do with the starter indirectly, in that the negative for the starter grounds to the engine. All right, and then there's a cable that grounds from the engine to the car, just to complete the ground. There are a lot of grounding wires, a couple of grounding wires in your car, and a couple of them actually grounds the engine to the frame of the car. Now, a lot of times what happens is those grounding wires get frayed. They break off because the wire bristles over time they corrode, they deteriorate, and when they deteriorate, what they do is they unwind. Sometimes they unwind to the point where they separate completely. All right, now this ground wire for the most part is under the car. I'm talking about there's a main ground wire that grounds from the engine to the frame of your car. All right, a lot of times you're gonna have to get under there, take the splash shield off, and you know, check out that ground wire. Most of the time, you know, this situation, this slow start situation is caused by the ground wire from the engine to the frame of the car. Now, you guys can replace that, take that off, and replace that wire, okay? But if you guys want to, a hack on this is that, you know, when you guys tested out the first time by putting the cable on top of the car from the engine, you guys could use a jumper cable, but you guys are going to use, you know, either the entire negative line, or in the entire positive line, or you put one negative to the engine, some metal part of the engine, and the other negative into the frame of the engine, some metal part on the frame of the engine. And if that actually changes anything, if the cranking changes up and the cranking is strong after that, you guys know that it is the ground wire from the engine to the frame that's causing that issue. Now, what you guys could do is you guys could make maybe like a 12 gauge wire, probably buy a 12 gauge wire from Walmart, you know, put some clips on it. Either put some clips on it, or find a place where there is a bolt on the frame, and pretty much unbolt the bolt from the frame, connect that, and then connect the other portion of it to another portion of the engine itself, you know, that has a bolt to it. Unbolt that and then put that to it, and you should be able to fix that issue. You should be able to just pretty much bypass that, the ground underneath, if you guys don't want to get to that. All right, anyway, hope this has helped your situation out. Troubleshoot it. It's you know, it's pretty simple if you think about it, but if it has helped you guys out, please give me a thumbs up, please subscribe, and please definitely leave a comment in the comment section. All right, guys, take care.